thank you for joining us today. I have the great privilege of being here with Mr. Fred Lagno, and I made a video a couple months ago and highlighted a little bit of his layout, but I got such an overwhelming response on that video that I wanted to come back and do a part 2, and Mr. Fred has graciously allowed me to come back today and interview him and get to look at his layout a little bit more. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, Fred.
You're welcome anytime.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into model railroading.
Well, I've always been a model railroader ever since I was young, and my first set of Lionel trains. My work took me away from that for a long time, being in the military and then flying with the airlines. And it was just a busy time, and I needed the room to do it. So when we built this house in 1986, I said, aha, here's my chance. I started with just 2 sides, of the side and the back of the garage. And then my wife Sue said, why don't you take that whole bay? And I said, what? And so I did. I had to modify the layout to do it, but that's how I ended up with that bay. And then she even suggested taking this bay, and I said, no, we can't do that. I said, that's for repairs.
Yeah. Wow, that's wonderful. So when you were a boy, did you have HO trains, or did you?
No, that was Lionel 027.
Okay.
And I don't know how old. I was pretty young when I got my first set of trains, and then I built on those and had lots of Lionel equipment. And then as I got older and I left home to go to the military, I ended up giving those trains to my nephew. So that's where they all went.
Okay.
Now I'm kind of wishing I had them, but
yeah.
Yeah.
And what prompted the decision to get into HO when you decided to do this layout?
Well, HO is more space friendly. You can get a lot more in. I could have gone N scale, but my eyes just won't do that. So I stayed with HO. I thought that was a good, a happy medium.
So this is a fantastic layout. I mean,
thank you.
I've gotten so many comments on the previous video on your scenery and your realism. Did you just learn these techniques as you went along? Did you have teachers or influencers?
I did a lot of reading.
A lot of reading.
And this I started the layout in 1995, and back then there was a lot less available in the way of like trees and structures, and not like now. And so it was learn as you go, matter of just doing it. But seeing the colors is important, because I do like art, and I do like to paint, and so that was a big help.
And what was the inspiration for this particular railroad, this particular part of the country, the scene that you've depicted here?
Well, it's pretty much Western Maryland, but I didn't want to tie myself down to a prototype. I wanted the freedom to do whatever with fictional towns and what have you, and my own railroad, and this would have been the period is around 1979, so that was a good time for me for the railroads, and I thought, oh, I'll go ahead and do that and go from there. It was just something that sort of evolved as I went along. And some of the story, there are stories behind certain structures that I put in my book, and they're all taken from real life scenarios. The names have been changed to protect the innocent, but I once I had the book going and I had a story to tell, then I was able to model around that. And so a lot of the original stuff that I bought, and I've got boxes of stuff I'll never use because it didn't suit the story that I was telling in the book. And that's how this all came about.
Okay. So tell us a little more about your book, because people might not be aware.
Well, the idea started with an artist by the name of Michael Flanagan. And Michael had, he was an artist. He had a book of his paintings, and many of them were railroad related, and a lot of the story revolves around the railroad. And there was one, the cover of the book had a picture of a caboose going by a house, and it was a very close proximity to the house. And I thought, I'd like to model that. And so I called up Michael and I said, do you mind if I do a model of the cover of your book? And he said, no, not at all. He said, I have to tell you about that. He said, because the cover of my book came from a magazine photograph. And he said, when I had my book published, the editors at Random House insisted that I contact the guy who took the original picture because they were concerned about copyright infringement. So he did that, and the photographer was a professional advertising photographer, and he told Michael, he said, well, yeah, you can do it. He said, that'll be $1,500.
Wow.
So he charged him just for the concept. I mean, it wasn't even, it wasn't like he was stealing something. So then Michael said, well, don't worry about it. I'm not going to charge you. Well, we became friendly after that. And he came over one day and I said, I'm thinking of doing a book. And he says, why don't you? He says, that would be great. He said, by that time I had already been published in a couple of magazines, and he thought that was a fantastic idea. So in the book, there are a number of photographs that are taken from his paintings.
Okay.
And then I went on with the story, and some of the story involves family and friends, and so that's how all that came about.
And if people want to get a copy of your book, how are they able to do that?
The best way to do it would be to just contact me directly on Facebook.
Okay.
Just message me, and we'll get them a book.
Awesome. Sounds great. So maybe you could give us some technical details about the layout, or as far as how it's set up, what type of power control system you decided to use, and so forth.
Well, it is digital command control, and most of the locomotives have sound. Some of them just have mobile decoders, but most of them do have sound. It allows me to operate a number of locomotives on the same layout. Everybody has their own throttle, and it's simply a matter of dialing in the locomotive number. It is fully signaled, and that required me to include resistor wheel sets in every car that I build.
Okay.
Every one has a 12K ohm resistor going across the wheels. The scenery, the trees are something called candy tufts, and I had a supplier out west. I bought them by the box. They're for floral designers mostly, and cut them up and made trees out of them. Let's see what else. This town, for instance, is fully illuminated. All of the interiors of the stores that you can see are furnished and illuminated. It's a mix of equipment, Atlas, Kato, Athearn, you name it. I've got a bunch of them.
Wow.
And every car is weathered and detailed with all metal wheels and coupler cut levers and everything you'd see.
And did you do that? Did you buy the cars and then?
No, I do it.
You
I
do all
most
the
of it,
work.
yeah.
Wow.
Some of the cars, I think I bought some of them that were fully detailed, but there's not many.
So, how long, just take one particular scene or project, like a building for instance, how long would it take to do one component for the layout?
Just one building probably take 2 or 3 days. Yeah, that's not very much. The scenery sometimes takes a little longer because you're waiting for stuff to dry, and then making trees, that's tedious. I must have thousands of trees on this thing.
I think that's one of the most realistic. I mean, everything's realistic, but the trees stand out. People, when they look at it, they say, that looks like a real tree,
Fall, I like the fall. That's my favorite time of year, and fall scenery can be difficult, and you have to be careful not to make things too overly bright, because that's not the way they really look in the fall, and especially late fall, when everything is turning more that orange color, that dull orange, and leaves are falling off the trees, so if you do it right, it's great.
Yeah.
Fall looks good.
Well, and you've certainly done it right, because it looks fantastic. So did you work on it kind of every day continuously, or was this stretched out?
I did work on it a lot because my schedule with the airline, we were at the time flying about 12 or 13 days a month.
Okay.
And the rest of the time, I was free to do what I wanted. So that gave me plenty of time to come out and work on the layout, and you can ask my wife, because I practically live out here sometimes.
Yeah. That's neat. What advice would you give somebody that is maybe starting out in model railroading?
Starting out, read.
Read.
Yeah, definitely read. Pick up the magazines, or there's a online magazine, Model Railroad Hobbyist, and you will learn a lot, and you will get plenty of ideas. That's the first thing. The second thing is set a theme, because if you don't, you're going to find yourself buying things that you really don't need, and so you end up with something like a circus next to a steel mill, next to a church, next to
right.
and so on and so on. Right. So set a theme for the layout, and go after that. Narrow it down a little bit, and unless you've got a lot of room, you're going to find yourself hard pressed to fit everything in. So you have to pick and choose.
Right.
Yeah.
You might not be able to add everything that you
Right.
imagined
Right.
into it
Right.
to make it look more realistic.
Exactly.
Yeah. So do you have a particular memory or story about maybe when you were working on the layout, or a particular favorite
Oh, I've
scene?
got a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a good one.
Let's hear it.
On the other side, there's a tunnel, and I was running a train one day and ran it into the tunnel, and the train didn't come out.
Uh-oh.
And so to get to the tunnel, I had to go underneath the layout to look up there and see what was blocking it.
Mm-hmm.
And as it turned out, I came face to face with a 4-foot-long black snake.
Oh.
and yeah, so I mean, black snakes are harmless, but that's not the way you want to meet them. You know?
The surprise, certainly.
And my wife said, just think what the snake was thinking when he saw the train coming.
That's right.
But yeah, that was a good one.
Oh, that's funny.
And then sometimes, well, like on the other side also, there's a closet where the trains run into it.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife didn't know that I did that.
Okay.
And a neighbor came over, and she wanted to see the layout, and she saw the train go into the tunnel, and she said, "Where does that go?" And my wife looked at it and she said, "Yeah, where does that go?" And I said, "I don't know."
That's funny.
But yeah, that's
neat.
little things. And sometimes things go wrong and you don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
It just, one day everything's running fine, and then you come out and a wire came loose, or something fell on the track and shorted it out. And it'll drive you crazy sometimes, but.
So do you have a memory of maybe your most frustrating problem, or like what you were talking about?
I'm trying to think. There was one that there was a short, and I could not find it. I looked everywhere, and I was disconnecting wires and putting them back together, and it was just puzzling me, and it puzzled me for days. Mm-hmm. And I finally found what the short was, and it was a plug on a tortoise switch machine. Mm-hmm. That had come slightly loose and was shorting out the track power with the power supply for the lights.
Oh, wow.
And I pulled that thing off of there and set it back on, and that was it.
That was it, yeah. Trains are like, any other technology. When they work great, they're wonderful, and when they don't, they can drive you crazy.
Yeah.
But
that was it.
That was it. That's neat.
And cleaning is a lot of work.
I'm glad you said that, because can you go into some detail about how you clean? Obviously, this is a massive layout in a garage. So what are some of your practices for cleaning and keeping everything?
In the garage, it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
To keep things absolutely clean, but with digital command control, one of the things, one of the culprits is dust. Mm-hmm. And dust on the rails will screw things up. Mm-hmm. So you have to keep the rails clean, and a lot of times all you need to do is just wipe them down with the soft cloth, a damp cloth, maybe with, and I use mineral spirits. Mm-hmm. Because it's a non-polar solvent, and I've had great luck with it. You can have a little bit of black on the rails if you run your finger along the rails. You'll get a little bit of black on there, mm-hmm. And that's not too bad if it's as long as it hasn't been there for a long time and thickened up. But For the most part, they'll run well as long as you keep the dust off them. And I run a track cleaning train with one track cleaning car with solvent in it, and another one with just a pad on the bottom. Well, two others with the pad on the bottom to wipe up after them. And another tip there is when you do clean with a solvent, let it dry or remove it before you run trains. The thing about the solvent, if you run the track cleaning car on the rails and the rails get wet and it loosens the dirt, now you need to get that dirt up. And so that's why I put a couple of cars behind it, you know, with pads on them, and that wipes them down. Because I remember there were times when I cleaned track and I didn't do that, and then the locomotive would pick up the dirt on the wheels, and I'd be back 2 days later, the same problem.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Neat. Thank you. So it's often been said that, you know, model railroading is the world's best hobby, and I've said that because it encompasses so many different skill sets. You know, from carpentry to electrical to art and scenery and everything. Do you have a favorite aspect of the hobby, or do you like all of those aspects?
It depends on what day it is.
That's a good answer.
Sometimes I'll just build a string of cars and weather them and do that. Other times I'll come up with some electronic idea and start putting things together. It just depends on how I feel, what kind of mood I'm in. And there's times when I don't want to work on electronics, or you know, it can be frustrating. But it just, I have my days. You know.
Yeah. So this layout looks like it's pretty much complete. Are you still, they say that sometimes layouts are never fully complete. Do you still do projects and change things in and out?
I do, yeah. I do. I find little things that there's not much left to do, especially with photography. You know, you can only photograph so much, and then every once in a while I'll wander around and I'll see something, I'll say, no, that might be a good shot, and I'll do it. But and people tell me, well, why don't you just start a new layout? And the answer to that is I just don't have it in me to do that. I especially after having written the book and told the story, I've grown an attachment to the railroad, to the towns, and I really couldn't bear to tear them up.
And I think, like you mentioned before, the specific scenes or specific buildings or towns have some local connections with naming and so forth.
Well, not so much the names of the towns, but the structures.
The structures
themselves. Yeah, some of the structures are. For this town right here would be similar in size, maybe to Brunswick. There are other smaller towns on the layout, little tiny towns that you see out in Western Maryland. It's more the structures that are they're all scratch built. And they have, or that's where I got the idea from real life.
Now, did you spend time in Western Maryland to get inspiration? Did you live in Western Maryland?
No.
Okay.
No.
But you took trips out there.
Took trips out there. My daughter went to school out there, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you witness the Western Maryland Railroad in operation?
Yeah, mostly CSX.
Mostly CSX.
In Cumberland, and Of course, the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad.
Right.
Um, I never got to see Western Maryland Railroad in action. That was before my time, before I really got into this.
Okay. Yeah.
But I would like to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even with the scenic railroad now, they're doing some neat stuff, and
Yeah, and I understand they've picked up another line.
yes, yeah,
So
that's a recent acquisition.
Yeah,
I believe
yeah.
the Georges Creek line. They're gonna put back in service and
Yeah.
have a couple locomotives
Yeah.
that they're gonna restore, I believe. And
Yeah.
so that's neat. I love going out there. We just a little story about that. We were scheduled to ride on the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad, I think about a year ago, and it so happened that we were on vacation in Ohio, and the weekend we were coming back through, and we had tickets. There had been a lot of heavy rain a couple days before when a section of the track got washed out
wow.
or became unsafe, so they canceled all the rides that weekend, and we ended up staying a night there, and I got to take some pictures around Cumberland, around the station, but it was kind of a bummer. So I haven't actually
That's a shame.
ridden the railroad yet, but I'm looking forward to at some point. Do you have you ridden a lot of either scenic railroads or railroads?
Yeah,
Or
we
do you have a
do that. Yeah,
favorite?
every time we're anywhere close to where a scenic railroad is, we'll ride it. And I can't even think of the names of some of them. Strasburg comes to mind.
Yeah.
Gosh,
I believe there's one up
Reading
in-
and Northern.
Yes.
Yeah, we rode that, and that was not too long ago. And the Potomac Eagle is another one. When were we? Elkins? I don't recall.
So you said that this layout is mainly based around 79, is that correct?
Yeah.
Kind of that time period?
Thereabouts.
Do you have a favorite type of locomotive or time period?
Alcos.
Alcos.
Yeah, we got a lot of Alcos, and got a couple of Baldwins working the yard. I do have EMD. I do have chassis equipment running through here.
Mm-hmm.
And that, SD40s and GP 38s, no, not 38s, GP40s,
Mm-hmm.
and a mix, GP 30s. Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, that was one thing that I really liked about your railroad, because I do O scale, and my layout is in its very early stages, but I'm kind of, Western Maryland is one of the railroads that I'm featuring on mine. And so chassis, I don't have too much chassis equipment, but I like the, chassis and the other railroads that became the chassis, Baltimore and Ohio, Chesapeake and Ohio, Western Maryland, and so forth.
Yeah, that was a good mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I built one of the other things about this is that there are a lot of hills, so it's built. As you can see, the town is on a hill, and it's a grade that runs from the other side around and up here. So that gives me an opportunity to use a helper,
Mm-hmm.
and so that makes it more interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's neat. That's neat. Is there anything else that you want to highlight about your layout, or just your the love of model railroading through the years, or anything?
I'll probably think of something after you leave.
That's always how it is.
But I would like to get into 3D printing,
Mm.
and that's the latest craze.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I'm opening another can of worms there.
That's a whole nother aspect to the hobby that is up and coming as the 3D printers become cheaper and more popular. You know, I think if it's not already the case, sometime in the near future, everybody's probably going to have a 3D printer in their home, just like a regular ink printer.
Yeah, the prices are coming down on them, but then from what I'm reading, you have to be careful what you buy.
Yes.
You know,
yeah, there's the real low end stuff that, you know, might not produce the accuracy and the good results, you know, the print quality that you need for model railroading, especially the smaller scale stuff. But it does open up a whole new possibility for
3D printing and laser printing,
cutting or etching.
Cutting,
yeah, that's neat. Well, I think unless you have anything else you'd like to share, I'd love to maybe take a closer look at the layout and
let's do it
and run some trains.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Dirty tapping out. I think I do. Okay, here we go.